So what if I told you that death isn't actually an endpoint? That it's more like a pause button? That the line between life and, well, the end isn't a hard stop, but more of a blurry, gradual transition? We're about to dive into a radical new framework that treats death not as some biological certainty, but as an engineering problem. And, if it's a problem, that means it just might have a solution. Okay, let's just let that sink in for a second. This idea, right here, from Dr. Sam Parnia's work, is the bedrock for everything we're about to talk about. It completely upends how we've thought about life's final chapter for centuries. And if death is a process, not just a single moment, well, that opens up a pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? And this is where researcher Shahryar Ghiasi steps in. He suggests we need to stop thinking about death as this grand finale. He even gives it a new name: metabolic discontinuity. You can think of it like the body's super complex machinery has just powered down, but it hasn't actually broken yet. And the key word, the most important word on this slide, is reversible. And there it is. That's the billion-dollar question, right? If it's a process, can you interrupt it? Can you pause it? Can you maybe even rewind it? Well, a new framework called the Syntho-Vital Continuum, or SVC for short, is designed to answer that question with a loud, definitive yes. All right, so to really get our heads around how this could even be possible, we first need to get comfortable with this whole new way of looking at what we thought was the end. Now, this isn't just some philosophical idea. It's actually grounded in some really cutting-edge science. You might have heard of the BrainX study at Yale. They managed to restore cellular function and blood flow in the brains of pigs a full 4 hours after they had died. It proved that the shutdown is a gradual cascade. It's not like flipping a light switch off. It's more like a slow rolling brownout. Okay, so if it's possible in theory, what's the holdup? Why haven't we done it? Well, as you can probably guess, the practical and technical hurdles they're just absolutely massive. And wow, this table really puts the scale of the problem into perspective. Just look at this. We need to take the brain's ability to survive without oxygen from about 10 minutes to 4 hours. We have to slash the cell damage from preservation techniques from a staggering 40% all the way down to under 2%. And we need to preserve someone's personal identity with over 92% accuracy, something we can't even properly measure today. These aren't just small improvements. They are colossal leaps. So how on earth do you even start to tackle these kinds of roadblocks? The SVC framework isn't looking for a single magic bullet. Nope. It lays out a comprehensive 4-part engineering plan designed to systematically knock down each and every one of these barriers. And here they are, the 4 pillars that hold the whole thing up. It all starts with a safe metabolic lockdown. Then it moves to creating a perfect blueprint of the brain. After that, it kicks off a nanoscale repair process. And finally, it makes sure your consciousness makes it across the gap. So let's start with that first pillar. How do you safely hit pause on a human body? The first big breakthrough is all about preservation. Old-school cryonics, or vitrification, meant you had to flood the body with really toxic chemicals, and the slow cooling process created ice crystals that just shredded cells. The SVC proposes a totally new method: electrochemically triggered vitrification, or ETV. It uses electromagnetic fields to cool the body incredibly fast, with a much, much safer solution. And the results? They're honestly staggering. This chart right here shows synaptic integrity. Basically, how well the brain's tiny, delicate connections hold up. The old methods leave you with maybe 70%. But this new ETV protocol, it pushes that all the way to 98%. That jump is the difference between reviving a brain with fuzzy, damaged memories and reviving one that's almost perfectly intact. So, the body is safely on pause. But how do you plan the repairs? That's where Pillar 2 comes in. You can't just guess what the brain used to look like. The paper calls that neural archaeology. It's just not good enough. Instead, the SVC says you have to create a perfect, high-res 3D map of every single neural connection while the body is in that pause state. So how perfect does that blueprint need to be to make sure the person who wakes up is, well, the same person who was paused?
By digging into reports from hundreds of near-death experiences, the paper actually calculates this number. This information theoretic threshold, 92% connectome fidelity. That's the minimum you need to preserve your memories, your personality, the very essence of you.
All right, so with the body safely paused and the brain perfectly mapped, we get to the really wild part, the revival itself. So how do you hit play again? Well, you call in a microscopic emergency response team. The SVC imagines this swarm of hyper-specialized nanobots running a perfectly timed repair sequence. First up, you've got vascular scouts that go in and clear out the entire circulatory system. They're followed by neural weavers, which use that perfect brain map to repair individual neurons. Then, mitochondrial reactivators go in to restart all the cell's little power plants. And finally, stem cell factories are deployed to fix any larger-scale tissue damage. It's an incredible coordinated mission.
This takes us to the final pillar, and honestly, this one might just be the most mind-bending of all. While your physical body is being repaired piece by piece, what happens to you? To your consciousness? The SVC's answer is something called a cognitive continuity engine. It uses that perfect brain map to create a temporary running digital twin of your mind. It's a bridge for your identity, making sure the person who wakes up is the exact same one who went to sleep.
I know. All of this sounds like it's been pulled straight from a sci-fi movie set centuries in the future. But the research paper that outlines all of this actually lays out a timeline. And it's surprisingly concrete. Yeah, you heard that right. The author, Shahryar Ghiasi, he projects that trials on large mammals could kick off as soon as 2027. That could lead to a full revival of a mammal by 2035. And the potential for this to be used clinically on humans, we could be looking at that by 2070. That's not some far-off abstract future. For many of us watching right now, that's within our lifetime. Of course, a technology this world-changing would force us to confront some profound ethical questions. We'd have to create entirely new legal definitions, like a vital suspension status for people who aren't legally alive or dead. We need some way to certify that the person being revived is the same one who was paused. And maybe most importantly, we'd have to figure out how to stop an immortality divide to make sure this doesn't just become a perk for the super rich. And when you boil it all down, that's really the core goal of this paper. The whole point is to reframe the problem. It argues that this framework takes the idea of reversing death out of the realm of speculative science and puts it firmly into the world of tangible engineering. It shifts the entire conversation from if this is possible to how and when we're gonna do it. And that leaves us with one final provocative thought to chew on. A technology like this doesn't just challenge our definition of death. It forces us to look in the mirror and reconsider the very definition of life itself. If the end is no longer a given, what does it truly mean to be human?